Hey, what's happening? What's going on, friends, amigos, compadres, banditos, Pulp Fiction fanatics? Before we get this video started, I wanted to let you know about the upcoming event in August called Pulpfest. Look at my notes. Pulpfest is August 7th through the 11th at the Doubletree in beautiful Cranberry, Pennsylvania. Beautiful Cranberry, right outside of Pittsburgh. It's a festival that has lots of panels on vintage genre fiction, specifically the classic Pulp Fiction that we know and love that we're going to be talking about today. It also has a big dealer room. So dealers from all over the country come with their wares, their pulps, their old comics, their paperbacks, original artwork. So there's original artwork for sale, and it is a lot of fun. We went last year, me and the little lady, and we had a great time. So we're going back this year again. We're going to be there. Paul Morton's going to be there. Secret Fire Books is going to be there. Geeks Love Dogs, Vintage Paperback Reader, Big Dave, the Corey Haim of BookTube, Bad Taste Bryan is going to be there. If you watched my 2 live Men's Adventure Q&As, Wyatt Doyle is going to be there, and Bill Cunningham is going to be there. All I'm saying is, it's a party. You should go if it's possible at all. Centrally located, if you're on the East Midwest. Maybe some of my friends in Indiana, you guys could go. I got some other friends here in Ohio. Maybe if you live right in Pittsburgh, you should go, because it's a lot of fun. And you may have noticed, I am wearing a Pulpfest shirt. Where did I get a Pulpfest shirt? I made it official. I'm the official Pulpfest shirt maker. They were like, we need someone that's dedicated to the cause to print our shirts. They looked near and far, and they said, hey, look, there's the book graveyard. Doesn't he print shirts? We should get him to do it. And that's not really how it happened. How it really happened was last year, one of the organizers was like, hey, we live in the same place. He lives in the same town. We live in the same city. He actually lives in the tiny little town that I went to high school in. And I mentioned that I print shirts, and I got the gig. So very excited. They're going to have these Pulpfest shirts at the show. We got the black, classic black, and then we also made some Heather Royale here, Heather Royal. And these are going to be available at Pulpfest, and they are also available on my website along with the book graveyard shirts. If you go down to the link in the description I'm going to put down there, you can order your Pulpfest shirt right now, and I will ship it out to you. You can have it for Pulpfest. I obviously won't be shipping them out while I'm there, but this is going to be a year-long thing, so no matter what time of year it is, I'll handle the shipping out of the shirts, so you can order year-long. So that is a lot of fun. So yeah, man, Pulpfest. This year is it's the Masters of Blood and Thunder. It's the 150th, it would have been the 150th birthday of Edgar Rice Burroughs. He would have been a very elderly gentleman if he had lived that long. He would have been a walking corpse. But he's not alive, but we're still going to celebrate him. Edgar Rice Burroughs, Masters of Blood and Thunder. Pulpfest 2025 in Cranberry, Pennsylvania, August 7th through the 11th. We will see you there. And now, let's talk about this issue of Weird Tales that I got. So here we go. Weird Tales, September 1937. We got this beautiful Margaret Brundage cover. It's wonderful. I like the purple and the orange. So we're going to go flip through here, and we're going to review it. This is part 1 of this video, and part 2 is I'm going to read off all of the letters that were sent to this. It's you get a wonderful insight into the time, the time frame of Weird Tales and the fans, and you'll also see that these are not famous authors at the time. It's more of a community, and it's really cool to hear the letters from that aspect. So here we go. Weird Tales. We got the cover art is Satan's Palimpsest by Seabury Quinn. That's the artwork for the story. We got our title page here, our story layout. And first up to bat, we got the Lake of Life. Gotta be gentle here. Edmund Hamilton. This is, I'll go ahead and they each have little blurbs before the story, so I'll go ahead and read that. A weird scientific thrill tale of adventure, mystery, and romance of the waters of immortality, the strange red and black cities, and the dread guardians that watched eternally over that terrible glowing lake. Part 1, Legion of the Damned. All right, so this story is about a rich old gentleman who living comfortably, living the good life, being a rich guy, and he's realizes his mortality. It's coming up. His number's punched. He ain't gonna live that much longer, and he wants to live longer because he's got an easy life, to be honest. I mean, he's rich, he's the top of the world. He hears about a lake in Africa that has the water of immortality that will make you live forever. I don't remember how exactly he's heard of this, but he knows. So he hires a band of ruffian adventurers, a band of ne'er-do-wells, ex-boxer, 30s gangster with a Tommy gun. He's got his Tommy gun going through the jungles of Africa. It's so awesome. And then like a disgraced military guy, basically just people who aren't going to talk because what he's doing is illegal. So these guys are on their way to Africa. They're almost there. And they're on their longboat, and they're getting chased by a French gunboat. They see a river. They go through the river. The French gunboat can't go. As soon as they go down the river, there's the tribal drums, atmosphere. This is very adventure. This is very Indiana Jones, man. Very. So they're going down. They land. The tribe attacks them. They're all painted in like skeletons over their bodies. Very cool. Very cool description. Very cool visual image. Of course, the gangster just pulls out his Tommy gun and just fucking mows them down. Unfair. It's an unfair fight, but it's all right. You got to survive, right? It's the jungles of Africa. They continue on. They go to the mountain. There's this big mountain, and it's electric charge. There's a weird electric charge around this mountain, and if you touch it, you die. If you go to a certain point, it's like a force field. You're like, you die. So they have to find a way around. They find this raging, crazy river. And they're like, oh, this is really dangerous. They're like, well, screw it. We'll just kind of makeshift a raft like Tom Sawyer. And they're making the raft, and they get attacked again. And then they're rushed onto the river. And they make it through the river. And they make it in through the mountain to the lake. Once they get inside this lake, there's this whole other world inside. And they see this giant red city straight ahead. And they're like, whoa, what is this? This is crazy. What is this? Like inside this mountain in this jungles of Africa. They land, they get attacked by these soldiers, all in black, like soldiers, like knights. You know, they got the armor and the swords. Of course, they pull the Tommy gun out, mow them down. And then another set of soldiers comes up, but these are all in red. They got the swords, this is old-timey. They see that our crew, our fellas, have mowed down their enemy. So they're like, hey, come on over to the city. We need you guys. Come on over. And that's the end of the story. Because it's part 1. It's only part 1. And I was so disappointed. I was like, oh, what's going to happen? So I have read a few Weird Tales, and Edmund Hamilton has been in them. And it is always very adventure. It's not sci-fi. I know he wrote lots of sci-fi books later on. But all of his stories are adventure, and they're Eastern flavor. Or I guess Africa's not Eastern, but the other story was Eastern, non-US flavor. He's out in the world, is what I'm saying, and it's more of an adventure story, but it's also fantasy. I was really surprised when they went through the mountains, and it was a fantasy story. It reminded me of the Amber series by Roger Zelazny. That is exactly how it felt. Even like the descriptions. I don't know what it was about it. I think it was the Red City, the soldiers. That's what I imagined. It's the same as the 9 Princes of Amber. And I love this. I love the story. This is exactly what you're looking for in Pulp magazine. Like when you imagine reading Pulp fiction, this is perfect to a T. Having Edmund Hamilton started off with this is like top of the batting order. It's the Barry Larkin of Weird Tales. Little 90s Reds references there for everyone. I'm sure you all enjoyed it. And on to the next story. All right, first, before we get to the next story, there are poems and stuff in here, but I'm not really going to talk about the poems. I'm not too into storytelling poetry, so it doesn't do much for me. But there is a poem in here by Robert Nelson called "Night of Unrest." So I don't know. All right, so the next proper short story is Satan's Palimpsest. Seabury Quinn. So the little blurb here says, "Weird was the doom and evil was the influence that emanated from that messiah picture on the wall, a startling thrill tale of Jules de Grandin, Ghostbreaker Extraordinary." So this is my first Jules de Grandin story, my first Seabury Quinn, actually. He's kind of Jules de Grandin is like an occult detective. And he also reminds me of Sherlock Holmes, like he has, it's like kind of all the answers already. It doesn't unfold so much as I feel like he knows what's going on, but he doesn't really let everyone in on it, and you're supposed to like figure it out as it goes along. I don't know. I didn't really like it that much. Oh, what's the story about? The story's about there is some rich person's party, and there is a painting, and the person who's hosting the party is saying how the painting is cursed, and they think that he's just saying that to scare people, and then one of the guests kills themselves, and so everyone thinks that the host killed them, and it was all just a setup so he could get away with killing them. And then the host dies, and then there is a woman at the party who is kind of entranced by this painting, and she's like drawn to it, and basically that's what it is. And then Jules de Grandin is kind of like tells you why it's not real, and I think that's what really sucked the fun out of it for me, is that I like occult detectives because I like occult. I don't want to see it exposed. I don't want him to Harry Houdini it. You know, I like the supernatural. I want that in the story. So that kind of brought it down for me, and I just wasn't into the lead character. He just seemed to know it all and was like holding it back. And he's like, just tell us what's going on, man. Just tell us what's going on, bro. And it was very anti-occult. It was very anti-pagan and pro-Christian, and that's fine. But I want, like I said, an occult detective. I want the occult. I want the supernatural. I want it to be real. So, not really a fan of that one. All right, up next by Bruce Bryan, who I never heard of, is the Hokum Horror. So the little blurb here is, it was a very real and tangible horror that closed in on the archaeologist on Superstition Mountain, as told in the fascinating pages of this thrilling gooseflesh story. As I've said many times on this channel, I used to live in Phoenix, Arizona, so it's very cool to read a story that takes place there, especially in the 30s, before Phoenix was the giant frying pan that it is, before they just keep paving the desert out there. So it's probably a very small town at that time. I got to see the Superstition Mountains every day. They're off in the background, very giant, and they are legend to be haunted there to this day. There's all kinds of legends about the Superstition Mountains. So excellent setting for a spooky story. So the story starts off with Jim Red Cloud coming down the mountain in his Pinto. And I stopped and I was like, wait a minute, did they have Pintos in 1937? And then suburban schmuck that I am, uncultured suburban schmuck, a Pinto's a horse, you dumbass. It's a horse. So Jim Red Cloud is coming down the mountain on his horse, on his Pinto, and he's panicked, and he says that there's bad medicine up there. There's bad medicine on the mountain, and Yig Satuti doesn't like Whitey up on his mountains. So the archaeologist that is missing, that is part of Jim Red Cloud's crew, is the leader of the crew, he found information that there is a ruin up there that is rumored to be the remnants of the O'Okum tribe, who were killed by Cortez when he came in and invaded and took over, killed everybody. So he went up to this mountain, knowing that the natives say that it is cursed. Typical Westerner European dude, doesn't care about the local folklore, goes up there looking for archaeological finds. Maybe not riches, but, you know, fortune and glory. So the story is told by an unnamed narrator who's a friend of the archaeologist. So when Jim Red Cloud comes down the mountain, he's there and he's like, Jim Red Cloud's like, he doesn't really explain it. All he says is this weird stuff about Yig Satuti. So the narrator goes to the sheriff. So we got to go get our archaeologist friend, Fulton Shirley. So Fulton is lost in the mountains. Sheriff and unnamed narrator have to get on their horses, go get him. There's lots of wonderful descriptions of the terrain, all kinds of desert animals. It seemed like every step they took, there's a different desert animal, which actually is kind of how it's like. You just always see little scurrying things when you're walking through the desert, little lizards, and there's lots of little rabbits, little creatures out there. So that's kind of legit. They come upon the campsite, all the tents are there, only Fulton Shirley's is destroyed, it's wrecked, and then there's these giant, what look like snake prints going through the sand. So that's all we're gonna say about that, because I don't want to spoil this one. There's a lot going on, so you could find this probably online and read it. Obviously, it goes to the supernatural way. It's very reminiscent of H.P. Lovecraft. The dread that it builds, the way that it's written from the first-person perspective, where they're telling you this crazy story that happened to them. Here's this thing that you will not believe. At one point in the story, they find the Fulton Shirley, the archaeologist, diary, and his diary takes over the story, so then you get to be on the inside of what actually went down, and it is rad. It is so cool. It's classic pulp fiction, classic monster pulp fiction with a little bit of Lovecraftian vibes. 5 stars there, Bruce Bryan. All right, up next is my favorite story in this issue, and it is The Death of LLalotha, not sure if I'm saying that right, by Clark Ashton Smith. Gotta be gentle. The blurb on this one says, "What horrible fate awaited Thulos as he went to keep his love tryst with LLalotha in the tomb? The story of Alamia." Which, I've seen this before. It happened in Shamblew. It happened in Shamblew, where they spoil what the monster is. So I don't know why they would do that. But if you don't know what Alamia is, then you're in for a surprise. So this one starts off with a funeral. They're at a funeral in a kind of royal setting. So it's the king's court kind of thing, which I was kind of bummed out on. Like I mentioned, I'm not so much into tales from rich people's perspectives. And there is a man who comes into the funeral. His name is Thulos, and he was kicked out of town by the Queen, I believe, because he wouldn't hook up with her because he was dating the local witch lady, and the local witch lady is who is for the funeral. That's who died. That's her funeral, the local witch lady. And he comes in and he's sad and he sees his old girlfriend there. And at the same time, he's very turned on because it turns out that when they were dating, he would have fantasies of her pretending that she was dead while they were doing it. A little necrophiliac fantasies going on, and she was happy to comply. She was into it too. So he's got these feelings, these mixed feelings, where he's very sad to see his one-time lover has left this world, but he's also turned on that there she is, just like he likes her. Well, that's gross. Anyway, the Queen is very happy to see Thulos. He's back, and she's like, now I can have him. The witch girl's dead. He's all mine. So she's like, hey, Thulos, how's it going? Why don't you stop on over to my room tonight? We're going to have a great time. And he's like, well, yeah, I mean, okay, I guess. Yeah, that doesn't sound too bad. But at the same time, he starts hearing this voice in his head, and it's his dead girlfriend. And she's like, Doulos, come visit me in the crypt tonight. I miss you so much. And he's like, I don't know. Is this really happening, or am I imagining it? Am I willing this voice in my head? So the night comes. The queen's doing her hair, all excited that Doulos is coming. And Doulos is not coming because he's headed on down to the crypt to see his dead ex-girlfriend, to do God knows what to her. And here's where the story really hits, because it becomes this like gothic horror, and it's got this incredible atmosphere of just the moon and walking through the woods at night and the wind howling through the trees, and you can almost just smell the dirt grave and the must and see the fog and him walking through, and it's just so brilliantly written, so beautiful. So, he gets down to the crypt, and I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm not even gonna say what happens. Maybe he goes in, maybe he was all in his head, maybe the queen comes in and kills him, maybe the queen fights the dead witch. They have a battle. You don't know. You gotta read it. So yeah, this story, amazing. 5 stars. I don't usually do stars. How about 10 tombstones? This story gets 10 out of 10 tombstones. Top notch Clark Ashton Smith. All right, next up is The Abyss Under the World by J. Paul Sutter, however you pronounce that. The blurb says, an amazing tale about 3 men who were precipitated into a series of adventures as astounding as any that ever befell mortal men. The story thus far. So this is part 2 of a part 1. So I didn't get to read part 1, so it's kind of unfair to review this because I don't know what the hell's going on, but it has these guys in a boat. One's a reverend, and he was passed out, and then he wakes up and he wants to know what's going on, and he had almost drowned. And the story has this dream in it. So he's reciting the dream, but he's like, is this dream or reality? And it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz, where there was people in the dream, and then he wakes up and they're there, but they're different people. So he was back in Egypt. He's back in this old Egypt town. There was a slaver Egyptian guy, and he wakes up and there is a fisherman on the shore who is the same as the slaver guy. So they go up to the fisherman, and they're like, he describes what he sees, what he had saw in his dream, the Egyptian formations, the building. And the fisherman's like, oh yeah, before this was flooded in, they had built this I don't know, building, cavern, I don't know what the hell it was. And it's actually under the water, so it does exist. And then, so the reverend is like, oh, you know what? It's real. We need to get down there. So they go down into the water and find this tunnel, this canal. And I'm gonna go ahead and spoil it because it really wasn't anything to write home about. So they go into this cavern, and it's a tunnel. It's basically just like a sewer, and it's what this local drug dealer has been using to hide his drugs. And then they have a run-in with the drug dealer. And I think there might actually be a part 3. I don't remember if there was an ending or not. It was not very good. I'll give you that. Maybe it was good if you read the first part, where they had the more fantastical part of the story. But this was very cut and dry and kind of underwhelming for what it was. Like, you want crime fiction, there's much, much better crime fiction than that. So, 0 gravestones, 0 headstones. Next up, there is a poem by H.P. Lovecraft. And I forgot to mention that this issue came out 6 months after H.P. Lovecraft died and 2 months after Robert E. Howard. So this is a posthumous poem called Psychopompos. I did read it. I'm not into the story poems. I just don't feel it. Richard the Dwarf, whose word had little weight. Who knew H.P. Lovecraft was funny? All right, it's like 5 pages. Yeah. Okay, so the next story is the Malay Love Magic by Morand. This one doesn't get an illustration, and it doesn't have a blurb either. So, oh yeah. So this was the story that was, it reminded me very much of a men's adventure magazine story. It was kind of not an adventure story, but like an exotic story, I guess, where this Swedish guy, he's on some island, and he falls for some local girl, and he hooks up with her and sticks around until he gets bored, and then he wants to leave. And when he tries to leave, he gets sick, like she put a curse on him or something, and it's him trying to beat the curse and leave the island. I don't know, it was really poorly written, not exciting. It was, if you want this type of story, the men's adventure magazines that came later on do it so much better. Also, it was, I know it's like of its era, but I think it would have even been shitty of its era to where they were like, oh, this person's Asian, so they're gonna be like this. Like, it was very like, this is how Asians act. This is how women act. And it was just, it just wasn't, it wasn't even entertaining in the slightest. So if you're gonna have offensive shit, you better at least be entertaining, because that is just 000 straight down the line. Not good. All right, up next, we have the reason that I picked this Weird Tales at the store is School for the Unspeakable by Manly Wade Wellman. I have a list of all the Weird Tales that contain Manly Wade Wellman stories in it. I want to try and get as many as I can. I'm sure that some of them are the expensive ones, and I will never have them, but... So, no illustration here. I've noticed as the magazine goes on, the illustrations are towards the front, and the better stories are towards the front. So, I love Manly Wade Wellman. I love the Silver John character. I love he's the best occult detective that's ever existed, and he's a folk singer, and there's lots of folklore and mythology and Appalachian myths and culture, and it just, it's top notch. Top notch. It's tops. That's a joke that's going to be in the next video. It's tops. All right, School for the Unspeakable, Manly Wade Wellman, is about... So this is about a young lad who's a juvenile delinquent, and he gets sent to juvenile delinquent private school, gets on the train, gets off the train. On the platform, there is another student there waiting for him, and he notices that this student is dressed not in fashion. He's dressed from like 40 years earlier. So he's like, oh, that's kind of weird. Like, he's not hip like me, you know, like he's wearing bell bottoms in the 90s, basically. So the guy's like, the other kid he's like, oh, welcome, you're coming to the school. Yeah, I'll give you a ride. And he's got a horse and buggy, and the new kid is like confused by that too. He's like, a horse and buggy? Like, this is odd, but whatever. I got 4 miles to go. Let's get on this horse and buggy. On the way up there, something is mentioned about Satan, and the kid from the school goes, oh, do you got a problem with Satan? And the new kid is like, he wants to seem cool, he wants to seem tough, you know? He's like, no, I don't got a problem with Satan, man. He's cool. Satan's good, bro. Satan's good. And they're like, okay, cool. They get up to the school, and no one's there. And the new kid's like, like, where is everyone? Where's the headmaster? And there's like, yeah, he's around. And then so 2 other kids show up, and these kids, he notices, are all kind of weird. There's something a little off about them. They're kind of not deformed, but there is something that's weird about them visually and the way they act, and they're, giggling maniacally, kind of. So, new kid is like, explain to me I don't understand what's going on. Okay, and then so these kids, the kids at the school are like, well, surprise, we are Satanists. We are evil in league with Satan. So new kid, it's like, what are you guys talking about, man? I'm out of here. And then the kids start to morph into kind of like evil monsters. And that's kind of it. It's not very exciting. It's a very basic monster story. It's like a universal monster story. It's like the Wolfman or Creature from the Black Lagoon, and it's cool. It's cool in that sense, but it's not the Manly Wade Wellman that I knew that I wanted. I wanted that extra special twist that he puts on the ball. You know, that he doesn't, and it wasn't in this story. This was a very, very straightforward story. I didn't tell you all of it. There is more to the story. I know it sounds like I just spoiled everything, but there is actually more to it. It really reminded me of Stephen King. It was like a Stephen King story. In fact, if you've ever seen Sometimes They Come Back, the movie, I know it was a story too, but in my head I just see the kids in the movie, where it is the Greasers. It's the 80s, but it's the Greasers come back and they're like the ghost kids. That is exactly what that story was like, because the kids are dressed in that old-timey, like that's when they died, that's when they were possessed, became evil, whatever happens to them, I'm not telling you. So they're of that time, and then they're impeding on the current time and threatening someone. So I was like, oh wow, I bet Stephen King read this story, and he was probably inspired by it. And it was okay. It was three gravestones. It was 3 gravestones, and that's pretty good. And then there is a little tribute here called H.P.L, obviously, H.P. Lovecraft, and it's by Henry Kuttner. And it's not a straightforward homage to H.P. Lovecraft. It's more of a like about his worlds that he built. Like it says, like the shadows of Egypt's titan gods far flung on the changeless sea, that bursts from the roots of Yggdrasil in the splendor of a dream. Just stuff like that. Like I said, it's okay. And then we got next one is McGovern's Obsession, August Derleth. This one does have a blurb. The story of a crime that occurred in the old house. A crime and retribution. So this one is about a man who moves into a house and he's writing a letter, and then he kind of starts ghost writing. So there's a spirit coming through him, writing the note, and it seems to be in a woman's handwriting, and it says, "Help, I'm a prisoner." And he freaks out, and he's like, and throws the pen, and then he goes about his business, and he tries to not write anything. He doesn't want this to happen again, so he doesn't write anything. And then he kind of forgets about it, and he picks his pen up, and he goes to write something else, writes a check, something for the landlord. And he gets the spirit writing again, and he gets freaked out, and he's more like possessed. And he goes and he asks his friend who knew the people who lived there before, and the friend is like, it was this doctor and his wife cheated on him. It's a very sad story, and then left him, and he had to live there all by himself. So the man who moved into the house goes back home, and he kind of gets this feeling that he needs to check the wall, right? So he grabs a hammer. Stir of Echoes. It's Stir of Echoes. There is more to that story too. I didn't spoil it. I was sure that Richard Matheson had probably read this and was inspired by it, because it very much reminded me of Stir of Echoes. It was okay. It was an okay story. It was very short. There wasn't much room to let it breathe or give it the ghostly ambiance that Stir of Echoes has, which, by the way, that book is so awesome. It's so good. So we're going to give this one, I think it was a little better than the Manly Wade Wellman. So maybe 4... We'll give it 4 tombstones. Gravestones. I don't even remember what I keep saying. 4 gravestones. And then we do have a Robert E. Howard poem here, The Dream in the Shadow. I dreamed a stony idol striding came out of the shadows of a brooding land, and drew me with unspoken grim command. Into the dark he named a monstrous name, and when I shrank with more than earthly shame, he raised me high, gripped in his granite hand, and crushed me, then to stain the silver land. My blood dripped down in jets of crimson flame. Okay, all right, I'm into it. You the man, Howard. And then the very last story is a reprint of a previously published story called When the Graves Were Opened by Arthur J. Burks. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you right now, this story was absolutely terrible. The worst story in here. Gentle, gentle. It's about a guy who's an atheist, and he has a friend who has invented time travel, and his friend is like, where do you want to go back to? And this atheist is like, send me back to Pontius Pilate so I can prove that they didn't rise from the graves or whatever it was that they did. And the guy's like, okay, but you're in trouble. So he sends him back, and it's all true, of course. And it's just him surviving, watching this happen, and then surviving and surviving this, I don't know, the dead rising or whatever. And it was very much like I was in Bible study. It wasn't pulpy. It wasn't a horror story. It was like a story from one of those little comic books that the religious people would leave on your car and indoors. It was just very, very basic, and I don't know. It was like like I said, it was like Bible study. I don't know. So yeah, not for me. So that wraps up the review of the stories. Part 2 is I'm going to read off all the letters. Like I said, it's wonderful. It's wonderful insight into the time. And it's like the community that we have here, but back then. So it's very cool. I'll see you at Pulpfest. Go to Pulpfest if you can. It's so much fun. It's just cool to be in that environment. And there's lots of cool shit to buy. You want real weird tales? They will be there. There will be lots of them. It's August 7th through the 11th. Cranberry, Pennsylvania. Blood and thunder. And I'm out of here. Go watch that next video. Bye.